What if I fail? The fear of rejection, the
Yeah.
yeah, these deep fears that just seem like invisible blocks of why we don't move forward. And then we kind of hide it, we mask it in perfection. I have to have it all figured out first. My business has
Yes.
to be like this first. I need a big following first. And so we just kind of always pushing it, putting it on the back burner. And that's what happened though. Yeah, I couldn't escape it. It felt so deep inside that I wanted to share my stories. And so I finally sat down to do it, but I didn't have any help. There wasn't, too many systems to help you organize. But I just opened up a bunch of Google Docs, started mapping it out, and began to write.
What do you say to somebody who feels like, they got their why? Okay, because I always look at it this way: fulfillment and happiness, right? Would writing a book make me happy? Yeah, but more importantly, it was going to fulfill you. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah.
Unfinished Business Podcast Show with your host, David Sliman.
Welcome back to Unfinished Business, everybody. For you listeners out there, have you ever thought about writing a book? I'm in the process of doing that right now. But let me tell you this. I have the guy who is the expert. This is his mission: to help entrepreneurs turn their experiences, their insights, their stories, their brand into a book. And this guy was battling this challenge of doing a book years and years back, and went on to create an organization to help navigate professionals to move through that journey of writing and publishing a book. We originally connected about this, and actually I'm going to be working with him when I finish my book, which is coming around the corner here. But more importantly, we want to hear from the expert. And this is going to be a great show if you've ever thought about writing a book, if you know somebody who's writing a book, or if you're even in the process right now. We're going to hear about his journey, the challenges behind the scene, what makes the right story, what's the right way to promote it, what's the real, when you have a dream about this, putting this thing together. So without further ado, Bobby Goodwin, I want to thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you, David. It is a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's roll into this, man. Let's start at your beginnings. We're going to get into all this book writing stuff. But what pushed you? I want the listeners to hear this. What pushed you to write your first book? I think you hesitated for almost 10 years in my research.
Exactly. It was definitely about a decade. I started off around 2010 with this
Okay.
idea that I wanted to build something in the entrepreneurial world. Not sure yet, and not sure what yet, but I knew I wanted like the time, location, and financial freedom to do so. So I started like getting into a bunch of different coaching programs, going to the seminars and whatnot. But I just had this idea that I wanted to start with a book. Part of it was I felt like I could hide behind a screen, not do things like this, that I could just stay hidden. I'm just going to write a book and it's just my voice. But then I, just started to grow into the idea of I'm going to want to have impact. I'm going to want to communicate a little bit further beyond the book. But it took me about 10 years. And it's really because I had all these self-limiting beliefs. I think I was like basically a CD English student throughout school.
Okay.
Mostly because it just didn't interest me. And I thought that to be a great author, you had to be a writer. They're two different things. I mean, this is what editors are for as well. And everything else. What if I fail? The fear of rejection.
Yeah.
These deep fears that just seem like invisible blocks of why we don't move forward. And then we kind of hide it. We mask it in perfection. I have to have it all figured out first. My business has to be like this first. I need a big following first. And so we just kind of always pushing it, putting it on the back burner. And that's what happened. But yeah, I couldn't escape it. It felt so deep inside that I wanted to share my stories. And so I finally sat down to do it. But I didn't have any help. There wasn't, too many systems to help you organize. But I just opened up a bunch of Google Docs, started mapping it out, and began to write. And
What
it
was the
was
first thing? So the first thing you literally just opened up Google Docs. First off, I want to stop you here. Okay. I was a C at best in English. Okay. Wasn't great at writing. So first off, everybody, you don't have to be an English major to write a book. Okay, that's first. But secondly, you're starting this thing. You just opened up a bunch of Google Docs and you're like, I'm going to start throwing down my ideas. Is that
That's
really how it started?
that's literally it. Just having one
Okay.
core idea and then
Yeah.
just kind of breaking it up and then thinking, how can I put these in different sections? If I was to put them in different categories, where would they go? And then I did have this basic idea. What is the journey going to look like? Where should they start? Where should they end?
Yeah.
But then when you get into the details of each chapter outline, which in my opinion, it's like a mini book anyways, just moving them along in the whole book. And then, yeah, it's just getting started. But it was really hard when you're not sure what sections. Then you just kind of write some topics down and just let it be messy and just build it. I can't say that the stars aligned perfectly though, and that the whole process went great. We ended up getting ripped off by some editors. I don't want to say it was intentional. They just didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
My wife and
I
I
want to come to that. We're going to get to that.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Great.
really do. Make sure we bookmark that. No pun intended. But I want to get into the mindset thing, okay? Because it was like, just what were some of the biggest challenges emotionally
Right.
or mindset hurdles that you had overcoming to get this thing to started? Because realistically, right, probably the hardest part is just getting started.
Oh, just getting started, and then
Yeah.
being at least somewhat consistent and not a perfectionist. There's different phases to it, and I was kind of focusing on my why. I was saying if it helped one person, it was going to be worth it. I wasn't caught up in royalties. At times, I was kind of like, is this going to be worth doing? But mostly, is anybody going to read it? But I just kept saying, like, I needed to accomplish this. My grandpa told me something that really stuck with me when I was younger. I would always have these great ideas, but he called me a 50-yard dasher. And it stuck with me because it was this idea, I'm going to sprint, but I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm going to be on to the next shiny thing. And so I was like, okay, I need to accomplish it. And it arrived. It arrived like it felt like Christmas morning. I did it. I felt accomplished. And then the next journey was, what am I going to do with this book? Which I'm not sure if you want me to share that initial part now. But that's what got me into really marketing and learning more about branding, because it wasn't like the movie, what is it? The Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. You don't just put it up and all the book sales start coming. It just doesn't work like that. And so it was crickets. Even people that I put in the like acknowledgements, they weren't even reading the book. Like, yeah, we know you. I'm like, thanks, appreciate it. And so I was like, why did I do this? And so I went through one emotional like roller coaster to complete the book. Then it was another one once it came, because I was like, what was the point?
Yeah. I want to stay here. I want to stay here before we go into what you did next, because what do you say to somebody who feels like, they got their why? Okay, because I always look at it this way: fulfillment and happiness, right? Would writing a book make me happy? Yeah, but more importantly, it was going to fulfill you. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah.
But what do you say to somebody who feels like they don't have a story worth telling, or doesn't see themselves as a writer, but there's that burn in them that they feel like they want to do this?
Yeah. Then I say you do have a story. We're in a world right now, as you can see, David, you and I are talking with over a computer. Like, how are the waves even making this happen? The internet, like all this technology and all the information that we have is completely different than it was 20 years ago. And my point is, with all the information, and even though we're so connected in one way, we're so disconnected. And people are hungry for authenticity and relatability and vulnerability. That is our nature that's been around for thousands of years. And so that's the power of stories. And if you have that burning desire, I believe you have a book in you. Obviously, I'm biased to a certain degree, but no, like regardless, like I believe that you have a voice to be heard.
That is such a great perspective. Well, you're living it, and we yearn for that as humans. And I agree. We're always looking for something. listen, you're not going to resonate with everybody, right? I mean, but if you can touch a few people or get some interest on it, I think just telling the story really can be therapeutic. I know that's been in the writings of going back and thinking about certain things and putting myself in those situations if I'm trying to explain something or tell a story within the book. It really is. It's interesting how you look at these journeys.
It is.
So okay, so now you have your book, right? Okay, I want to get to that part. You have your book and you've put it together. Did you have somebody like smooth it out for you? Because that's sort of like I'm at. Like, did you feel like it was solid? Like, what was your steps? You had it all down. You're ready to go. Do you have somebody look at it, or are you just like, hey, I'm gonna just put this thing together and market it?
Right, right. Yeah, I would definitely do the process different than what I did originally, but
Okay.
I got it done. That was the main thing. But I had to piece certain aspects together, and there's just some of those nuances of everything. But you have to begin to look. Okay, there's an editor. What we didn't realize is that there's several stages of editing. So just having somebody go and polish your punctuation and grammar, that's not enough. There's also the developmental editing structurally, and then there's proofreading, and so not just copy and line. And so but it was done. And then you need a format of the interior design, the book cover, and figure out how to get it printed. But it arrived, and that was the main thing. Done is better than perfect. And so yeah.
That's great.
But
That's great.
once it arrived, yeah, then it was the new journey of what am I going to do with it?
What are you going to do with it? All right.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I have a really good friend in the sales space, sales and coaching and development space. And Mike Weinberg, thank you. He said one of the things he recommended to me, and I'm not saying you recommend this, but he recommended it to me, and I thought it was super powerful. He's like, have your cover designed. Okay. Like, design your cover now. How do you want this book to look? Right. Because you're thinking about the end result of how you want it to
Yeah.
look. So I took this advice and I had the cover designed and it came out so great. And it was almost like it added an extra layer of motivation for me to
Absolutely.
keep going on this thing. And I thought it was great advice. So Mike, thank you for that. It was super powerful. But that's something that really could
Yeah.
resonate with somebody who's because it's an arduous process. Like I've been working on this for a while, and it's because you have to do you're doing your job, like things that you do. Like I do consulting work and everything, and then you got to find time, and you have to be in a mindset. You can't just say, "Hey, I'm going to start writing today." Like I
Yeah.
mean, you can, but I feel like if I'm not like fully engaged, I'm just not getting the best out of myself for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you need to be in that creative spot. It doesn't mean it's going to be completely perfect and quiet. You don't have to lock yourself away in the cabin for months, but you do need to be in some sort of zone, kind of move
Yes.
into that creative process. I do love the idea of, by the way, the book cover done early on. When we onboard, the first thing we do is we have about 3 forms, and one of them is literally getting to know what style of book covers you like, because we
Yeah.
like to start building that out early on for a couple of reasons. You don't want to be completely done with everything and now you need your cover, but also like what you said, the creative process comes out, you have the end in mind, and guess what, you could do a couple things. One, you can start sharing it on your social media with your friends to get any feedback, see how the market is responding to it. But also you're engaging them, they're feeling like they're a part of the process, and you're letting them know the book is coming out, so there's that launch way. And also you're holding yourself accountable, which is probably the biggest piece of that. Yeah.
Right. I know. As soon as I got the cover done the way I wanted, I sent it to Mike, and he's like, "Oh, it's fantastic." I'm like, "Oh man, now I got to finish this
Now
thing."
I have to build it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So, I want to get into your company because I want to talk about this process because we're going to get into the marketing side and how you not really what you've done in the past, but what you've learned from this to do it the right way. But one question before we go into that. Tell me this, what makes a great book versus one that collects dust?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously there is still that marketing piece to it. You might have a great book, it's
There
just
you go.
not heard. But at the end of the day, it goes back to that word connection. I think oftentimes we think we know we have all this information and we're just going to just get it all out there, and the reader is going to be so grateful for it. But we have to understand that we do have different aspects to that as well. So to me, what makes a great book is one that creates a transformation, not just gives information. And to do that, we want to know our ideal reader. Who are they? Right. And so that is where there is some power in the niches. It doesn't mean you have to get really niche down, but who are they? We want them to think, you know what? This author understands me. And so to do that, who are they? Where are they? What's their pain points? What's their fears? What keeps them up at night? What are the problems where the pains are coming from? Then also, what's their values? What drives them? Even subconsciously, like, who are they? And like, what's their characteristics? What's their self-limiting beliefs? And then ultimately, where do they want to go? That's the fun part. What's the dream? What is the goals, the ambitions? People don't necessarily care that you have a chapter on a certain topic. They care about where you're going to move them. And so to do that, we really need to know that. And then of course, we're looking at that specific topic, and then what do they need, the different steps. And then throughout that journey, stories, connecting, then content, left brain, right brain, we're resonating with them. We want them to use their imagination. And then I believe what makes powerful books as well is call to actions, having them do something, even if it's something small. Not every chapter needs it. Now they've went from information to actually doing, right? They're doing something different than they did yesterday. You brought something to their awareness, some sort of paradigm shift, some sort of, like aha moment for them, because they're not going to remember everything that they read, but they're going to remember more about your story and how you resonated with them and how overall how you made them feel.
Yeah, you said something here earlier. You're not giving them information, you're taking them through a journey. I mean, I might have said it differently than that. But you talked about the titles of the chapters. Like, how important are those in versus, and it really comes back to your comment, just being an informational title, or actually taking them through a journey or a process?
Right. No, that's a great question. First, I would look at the main title. Overall, the title, the way I like to think of it, it's some sort of hook. It grabs their attention, while the subtitle begins to tell who's this book for and where are you going to bring me? What am I going to get out of it? And so, and then you could do some with the back cover. As far as chapter to chapter goes, I don't see a huge importance in chapter titles as much as just like marketing in general or whatnot. I'm not saying this book is just for marketing. It's the hook. And so once you have them started, it's not going to be necessarily what stops them into chapter 2. Going into chapter 2 is because the chapter title doesn't resonate with them. Yeah. But of course, we want them to understand this is what it is, and that there's some sort of congruency and flow from the start of the book to the end of the book, that the natural progression is, I want to go to the next chapter. I'm hooked. I need to finish this book now. Just like a movie, just like, obviously, different marketing videos and whatnot.
Sure. So, gosh, how does your company really simplify, or your team simplify the process for somebody who's has an idea, or they're already written a book, or like even in my stage right now, like I'm 11 of 15 chapters getting there, which is exciting. But now you have the publishing process, right, which is a whole another ball of wax. Talk to our audience about how your team really helps that, and then I want to get more into the marketing again.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. And so part of that, and how the business came to be, I should say, is when we rewind to my book arriving and being frustrated that my friends and family wasn't reading it.
Yeah.
And questioning the why again. I thought I was supposed to do this. What happened was I signed up for my first marketing funnel. At the time, my wife and I was a teacher. And the idea, so we're just putting our own funds into this. And this was like our first kind of, bigger purchase into the marketing of several thousand to run ads to the $7 ebook version, to a upsell smaller course to the bigger course, which is going to be $997. And it's the idea we're going to automate it. I'm going to wake up, my Stripe account is just there, money into the bank, life's different, and it's crickets. And I don't understand ads or optimizing or any of that at that time. And then we got an email from a lady. The lady said, "This book sounds great, but I don't have $7 for it." And I was sitting here, I was like, gosh, how am I supposed to sell the $997 course? Now that I wrote a book and I spent money on an agency, I'm burning ads. I'm burning money on ad spend. Oh my gosh. And what am I doing? And my wife said, just give her the book. It's an ebook, right? It's not going to cost you anything. Just give it to her. At least she wants to read it. So I gave her the book. And in the next few weeks, things were still not optimizing, give or take. I went downstairs. I was in a little fit. We're back to that spiral emotional idea again. Why did I write this book? Self-worth, all of this. This is what I was worried about, right? This is why I didn't do it. I shouldn't have done it. And I walked down into the furnished basement at the time to rewrite it because I thought, you know what? There must be something wrong with it, even though no one was reading it. So how could it be that? Clearly, that's it. And I had an email waiting for me, and it was from that lady that I gave the book to a few weeks prior. And she shared with me that she read the book as she promised. And then she said, thank you. And she shared that she was getting ready to take her own life. But because of me and my book, she was still here. And then she gave like her kids' names. And I'm like in shock. And I just was sitting there in tears and shared it with my wife, and she's crying. And we're like, we see the power of books. And then I went back to the why. If it helps one person, it was worth it. And it just turned out that she was the first reader. And what I thought was a failing marketing system ended up being my greatest ROI because it led to this business. And I was just like, whoa. Because I saw the power of stories, I saw the power of expertise and the ability that books can bring. So we ended up creating some courses and whatnot, but we flipped the model where we were going to help readers, aspiring authors through the process. I thought it was going to be group coaching at that point. So we launched ads, and our first agreed upon client was ACE. And ACE is the respiratory therapist who treated the first COVID-19 patient, a community spread here in the United States. It led to a dark, isolated space, spot, as you can imagine.
Yeah, of course.
He went into, a dark place. He found some ways out of it, different strategies, and he found a personal transformation. And so what we did was we took a methodology. We brought what he learned and we packaged it, and we shared his story. And before the book was even launched, he was getting on radio, he was getting on podcasts, he was getting speaking engagements, and he didn't even have like a back end offer. And I was like, whoa, okay, we're on to something.
Spiraling.
Yeah. And so that goes back to your original question of how we help. Is we went from this idea of group coaching to a hire done for you, regardless if you have a manuscript or you're starting from scratch. And so, because what we began to learn was how do we bring it out of other people, regardless of the niches. Like currently we have about 60 books going. We launched a book. It's up there, the orange one, last week. It's in medical technology, right? And because the skill set is from you, it's from the authors. Our skill set is pulling it out and organizing it in a way to create an impactful book to increase your brand.
Those types of readers. I mean, it's what a great story, first off, of saving a life, because to put a book out makes that all worth it by saving somebody's life. And then being able to impact somebody on the flip side of starting your business who was probably going through something pretty traumatic. It was probably almost therapy for them to get that story out there. But wow, amazing. So with your authors, because you talked about this, you touched on this, but I want to make sure we don't miss it. People are thinking, well, I'm going to write the book. I'm going to get all these, it's going to, like you were, people are going to buy it. They're going to listen to it. I mean, what's the bigger mission, you know, or purpose beyond just selling a book?
Exactly. The way I look at it is, and it's all dependent on obviously each individual. We
So,
primarily work with founders, business owners. So we
okay.
see it as a front end tool to lead to a back end tool. Therefore, it's not necessarily about volume in the sense of just royalties, because we look at it as a strategic book to build that connection. And it has the authoritative piece as well, but also strategically in the book to lead to your back end offer. And this is the thing, when people view brands often, obviously
Yes.
I'm speaking generally here, they're thinking it's their logos, their colors, and like their font style. Like those are a small piece of it, but your brand is what is people saying about you? It's your visibility, it's your story, it's your why, it's your methodology. Like it's so much more to this. And so when you create a book and put it together, you're able to leverage it more on the front end, not just the back end. It's not the end of the journey. And
Yes.
so we don't see it as like, oh, I need to sell all these books. We have authors who's like, okay, yeah, it's up on Amazon, all right, but what I really want to leverage is the printed copies. We look at it as have both, right? Yes, collect some royalties, send people there, but how can you leverage your book to open up other doors for you and your brand?
Right. And it validates, right? I mean, books really do validate, especially if someone's speaking in a space or a certain type of industry. I really feel like it validates that person to a certain extent, especially if it's a really good book. It can validate you even more. But listen, we're all not experts here, but it does validate the fact that you've gone more for me. If someone's written a book, it validates the fact that they've gone through an experience
Exactly.
and that they want to tell that story because somewhere, somehow, some way, even along those years, people were affected by that. And I feel like someone really puts time to go into writing a book that they feel that it's a bigger purpose than just trying to sell it, for that reason.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. We look at it at not just like the individual, you put it on Amazon and somebody comes and buys the book. We look at it as everybody, talks about like other people's money, OPM. Like other people have audiences built that is kind of like money, of course, that you're able to leverage in an impactful way. These aren't bait and switch like sales books. These are impactful books that naturally invites the reader into working with you more personalized beyond the book. So my
Yeah.
point is, in a world like where, again, it's individual preferences. If somebody wants to go and speak on stages, instead of sending them like your speaker kit and it's just kind of templated and just emailed it once, imagine a different approach where you use your book and you mail a branded box if you wanted, or it's just simple, mail them the book with a personal letter, starting with them, like speaking to the event planner, for instance. Thank you for what you do. Usually it goes overlooked. You're behind the scenes and you're setting up everything. A lot of people are going to be affected by what you are doing. Thank you.
Yeah.
By the way, this is what I do. Maybe there's some mutual, like mutualism here. Maybe this is worth a conversation. What do you think? Oh, by the way, here's my book, just to show them I'm serious about this. I'm not hopping niches, seeing whatever the current trend is of what's working. Like I am sold on this topic and this is my expertise. So that's how we begin to view books, because that could be a door opener that leads to the networking or lead
Right.
generation.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And the validator. It's great. So talk to me about the timeline. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about somebody who has an idea. They have their why they want to write this book, why they want to impact. I know, listen, I don't think anyone's going to hold this to you, but if you had a time frame to writing, publishing, marketing, getting it out there. What does that usually look like for
Right.
somebody?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, like I said, there's different variables in that, and length of the book,
Yes.
revisions, time. We always like to say 9 months. We
Okay.
like that. We like to move instead of a
That is
couple
quick.
years. Yeah, it is. It is. And that's also because we have systems in place to help. So much of the time consumption comes out of lack of clarity. If you don't have clarity, you're going to spend a lot of time just spinning around, or
I
you're not
know.
going to do anything because
Not
you're
gonna
just
do
not
it.
clear.
Yeah.
So once we build that foundation of the outline, then we're able to build the chapter outline. We're able to, dependent on, like with our clients, if we're helping to do the writing or not, we same idea that we break it down chunk by chunk, and now you're really clear and asking prompt questions, and now it's just pulling information out. And a lot of people already have a lot of this information somewhere. It could be on podcast, on different YouTube long form. It could
Mhm.
be written blogs, and you're able to take that and able to plug it in. So 9 months, you could move without taking up all of your time. Again, you don't have to go lock yourself away. You're busy already. 20, 30 minutes here and there can go a long way. It comes down to consistency. Even if you're doing it on your own, be clear on the reader, the outline, the chapter outline, and 250 to 500 words like a day. And it could be amazing for you too, because you are switching into a different mode, can go
Yeah.
a long way.
It's great. You said something earlier. Do you recommend that if someone's writing a book to put their chapters first and then fill in kind of like you said, the chapters are essentially a small story or a small book in themselves. Is that your process? Do you like to go chapters first and then fill in the information?
Yeah, so we like to do the whole book outline and then a
Yeah.
chapter and
Yeah.
then a chapter at a time. If
Great.
something is off, like we might skip a chapter, but where we're just trying to kind of again create that flow. But ultimately, we like the book outline to have that Northern Star, but also know it can transform as it goes. Books can do that. Be okay with that. And also, the main thing is just getting it out there, because in developmental editing, through revisions, you could piece certain chapters, move them, you could blend them, you could delete, right? And so at the end of the day, whatever works for you is
Yeah.
what I would say.
Yeah.
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 So
Because
get it
this
down.
is a pro. I mean, you probably get a strong relationship with your clients. I mean, you're working with them for 9 months, and this probably is very emotional, right? I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
these are emotional processes. Um, how do you build that trust, and maximize that, pulling it out of them because everybody's a little bit different. And how do you get the best out of your clients?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And that's something
Mm.
that when we started this, you could predict a lot of things. That was not one of them. And you're completely right, because stories can be hard. And
Mm.
the big thing is space. The big thing is we're not rushing anybody. Okay. Like if you need time, you have time. So there's no timeline. Your book must be done in a certain period of time. Um,
Yeah.
and and that's the big thing. It's just letting them be heard and at the same time giving that space. Not like, hey, you have to just work through this, just get it out. Like, no. Um, and and yeah, and we have books in different styles. Some lean a little bit more on coaching, and it's a little bit more on the memoir style, heavier on stories. Then we have more of the technical style with some stories. And but yeah, it's definitely a process, and you could revisit some things, but we also see the other side of that, that as they continue to tell their story and
Yeah.
their transformational process and the awareness of where they've gone, it could be quite rewarding as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's great.
Yeah.
Whew. Man, we've unpacked a lot here today. I want to touch on the marketing a little bit more. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your process for somebody who's finished their book? You were talking earlier about sending out the cover prior. Like what's your positioning and your strategy when someone is getting ready to market and promote their book?
Yeah, so we like to build some that runway with some social media content. It's we like to let the warm audience know that again, you have a book coming. You're able to start to share. And it's also personal preference. You could share some of your chapters before launch, which could be amazing because now you're starting off with some reviews already. Tell Amazon algorithm this is a real book. And some social proof. We'd like to build landing pages for our authors because you could do a lot more there than just like the Amazon description. And so some social media. And then again, once you start with your cover, you could use the 3D mock-ups. You could change your social media banners. Book is coming soon. So people are aware of it. And you want them to feel a part of like a movement. There's different strategies that some may do. It's not personally like what we put in our process, but you could do something like buy the book, share the order number with me. You're going to get a mini course or an online call with me, like a group call. At the end of the day, it's just letting people know that you're here to help. And so, and same idea with the landing page. Yeah, you're there. Everything here is like impact driven, right?
Yeah.
So social media, it's not just simply my book is coming, buy it. It's also post that's impactful. You're speaking to them. And again, you're just pointing them to the book. And ultimately, the book could lead to a back-end offer. But it is awesome once you have the book created for social media because you've already outlined so much information. So I'm talking about even before the launch and after. I'm not just flipping it up. You can have quotes forever, just your own quotes. But you've put it out there and you've outlined it in a way or packaged it in a way that you have some sort of big outline that you're able to take and create like a social media approach. And so, from there, we like to build steam, get the book. Yay, it's fun. It becomes real. Reviews start coming in or families texting you and like, yes, it's here. But ongoing too, we look for things like what we do with our authors is that we do a press release for them. And we want to build the search engine optimization. So we get on several hundred platforms. So like Bloomberg, AP News, Yahoo Finance, Google News, Apple. And it's just out there for obviously visibility, but the big thing is it's on these platforms, it's backlinks, it's and then you could put the as seen on your website, which kind of creates the authoritative piece. But the big thing is just letting the whole internet world know that this book is out there.
Coming out. Yeah.
And then continuous, if you could have it on your website, okay, and your social media when people go and get your book. The thing is, like with Amazon, they don't give you the name and email. So there's different strategies that you could use in the book, like QR codes. Again, lead magnets back. Give them a win, but in exchange for the win, like a free PDF, something that's relevant for that chapter, they give their name and email, beginning to build your list that way. And so it just becomes just something that they move from the book to your website, and then from their website, you're able to continue to serve them with like a newsletter, and ultimately, a call to action could be to work with you further.
I told you this guy knows his stuff. I mean, you already get my mind clicking here on certain things to add in, but that's why I'm going to work with you. But what trends are you seeing right now in the world of author-driven business growth, right? Like we were talking about this a little bit earlier. Are books becoming more important in the branding, or again, because you see a nice shiny book out there and you open it, it might not be as great, but how important is that? Is it more important than ever?
I mean, I believe so. And I believe because of, and like what you just said, there's the deliverability part of it. I don't know about you, but I've been in these marketing things where the front end is amazing. You think you're going to have this like amazing onboarding and you're like, no. So a cover is important, but really it's what you're going to deliver. And so with the world of like AI and information, this is just personal belief, but people are going to kind of move into a certain direction, and then you're going to have this spot that is still connection, right? And that authenticity.
Yeah.
And so we love AI as a tool, but it's not the creator. And so my point with that is that I believe it is extremely important, because there's all these shiny things out there, and then you have books that have just stood the test of time.
Yeah, man.
And it goes back to storytelling. And then also we see, like with Instagram or other social media, it's more scroll, right? When you have long form content such as this podcast, some long form YouTube, and then like some longer blogs, and obviously some rant and a book, I look at it as who's more likely to engage with you beyond the content. And I'm not saying those things are wrong. I'm saying they have their place, but they're different compared to a book where you've already built a relationship with them in between the pages. They really got to know you. And so I believe, yes, it is extremely important for brands, because it's standing apart. Also, we live in a world now where there's so many people hopping online, creating businesses and doing things that, again, they might be hopping from niche. What's most profitable? That's their main. And I'm not talking bad about anybody. I don't have any individual in mind, but in comparison to somebody who is established, they have the book, and they're driven by impact.
Yeah, it's really powerful. Listen, last question. All right, this has been a great interview, and I knew that it was going to hit home, especially the first time we talked. That's why I wanted to have you on the show, because there's a lot of people out there who just don't know or have thought about it and don't know where to go. And this guy's the expert. I'm telling you, I am going to work with him as soon as I finish up my book. I'm excited about the journey of us working together. But one question here, and one of the things I haven't done, which I want to kind of kick myself in the butt on, is that I haven't highlighted your company, which is Branding by Books. So check it out. We'll put it up on the screen. Branding by Books is Bobby Goodwin's company. And Bobby is really the expert. I promise you that. Just speaking with this guy, and the first time that we talked, he really made an impression on me. And I appreciate that. I really do. But last question. For someone listening today who feels the nudge to write a book, right? But who hasn't started yet, what's your message to them, Bobby?
Obviously, to get started. And this is this is what I'm going to draw. Obviously, this was not planned.
Okay.
This is, we could overthink things. Okay. Sad, happy. Who's your ideal reader? And then all we do is what steps, what chapters do we need to begin to move them over there, right?
Great.
And at the end of the day, I like to draw something that's just like a sun, and you start to fill in there. What are their fears? What are their self-limiting beliefs? What are their objections? What are their the problems and these things that they're facing? And then where do they want to go? And this is where you begin to use your expertise of just mapping it out. If it's fitness, for instance, they're over here and they want to move over here. What do they need? If it's finances, right here, they might be up at night worried that they don't have money to retire, or they can't put food on the table. Even if it's not true, it's becoming true to them. And it's because they're stuck in the future. What's the first step that they need to know in your expertise? Right? And is it to get a budget? Is it to break some sort of those self-limiting beliefs? And what do they have to do, all the way to like investing or whatever it is? Again, it's your method. Once you have that, you're in a spot that you could begin to create. And don't worry about chapter orders or anything. You could change those around. I personally recommend doing introduction last, right? We could think I need an introduction. The reason why is you're going to really see where the book goes, and then you go back and write it. And so don't get caught up on all the details. You just need to get started. Just literally open up a Google Doc or paper and do it.
That's great, man. Bobby, I want to thank you for being here. This was a great interview. Our listeners are going to get a lot out of this. He is Bobby Goodwin, founder of Branding by Books. I am your host, Dave Sliman. Thanks for listening to this show. We appreciate all your support. As I always say, wealth, health, success to all of you out there. Go get a win today. Start that book. Or reach out to Bobby. That's the guy you want to reach out to. If you want advice, where can people find you, Bobby?
BrandingByBooks.com.
Yeah, that's it. Check them out. Thanks again for being here. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Unfinished Business Podcast Show with your host, David Sliman.